Alright, so this video we're going to be looking at these 4 questions involving index laws. These are 4 questions that lots of people have been asking me from the Year 10 class, so we'll go through them. What they involve is a lot of the index laws, including negative indices, powers of powers, powers of fractions, but then also involving multiplication of fractions, division of fractions, and so on. So make sure that in this question it's saying express using positive indices only. So that means we want to change the negative indices into positive indices. So to start us off, let's look at this top one. Right away, let's just go ahead and multiply the fractions. So we have 90a to the power of 5. As we see, we've got the a to the power of 1 and the a to the power of 4. And we have b to the power of 7. And then 3 times 5 is 15. We have no a's on the left side, but we do have 3 a's on that right side. And then we have 5 b's in total. So we have that. Let's move this down. Then from there we can now go ahead and simplify. So first of all, 90 over 15, we want to find the common factor. There the common factor is 15 itself. You can just put that into your calculator. So it becomes 6. That becomes 1. And then now we're also going to look at a to the power of 5, a to the power of 3. We can cancel out 3 of the 5, so it becomes 2. And all the a's goes away. And then same with the b's. We have 5 on the bottom, 7 on the top. So we can cancel all these out and that becomes a 2. So now that leaves us with just whatever's remaining. We have, which equals 6 a to the power of 2. B to the power of 2, and that's over 1. And as we know, if our fraction ends up with just over 1, we don't need to write that one. We can just write 6a squared b squared. So there's our answer for that first question. Okay, fairly simple, just means multiplying the 2 fractions and then working with our index laws from there. Looking at the second question, we're now starting to look at powers of powers. But there's a few little tricks that are involved in this as well. I'm just going to move this to the side a little bit. So first of all, looking at this 9, okay, notice that that 9 has nothing to do with that power of 2. Okay, that 9 is outside the brackets, which makes it not be impacted by it at all. So we're just going to keep that 9 as it is. Then we're going to have m to the power of 5 to the power of 2. That means we multiply the powers. So it's m to the power of 10. N to the power of 2 times, now again this 2 is outside of that bracket, so it has nothing to do with that 0, so we've got that 2, and then we have n to the power of 6 to the power of 0. Well, anything to the power of 0 is 1, as we know, so that's just basically saying 2 times 1, which is 2. That is over, again, that 6 has nothing to do with that 3, so we'll do 6, and then m to the power of 6. From there, we can go ahead and now start simplifying this fraction. So first of all, let's sort out what's going on in the numerator. I'm just going to move this down a bit more. So we have 18, m to the power of 10, n to the power of 2, over 6, m to the power of 6. And now when we simplify, we have 18 over 6. Highest common factor is 6, so that becomes 3. That becomes 1. Now we're looking at the m's. We have 10 m's on the top and 6 m's on the bottom, so we can cancel out 6 of them, leaving out only 4 on the top and all the m's go. And we can't cancel out any n's, so that's just leaving us again with 3 m to the power of 4, n to the power of 2. And yes, we could write over 1, but like I just said in that first question, we don't need to write if it's just over 1. If the only thing that's left over in the denominator is 1, that means we don't need to write it. So now let's go into questions C and D, and these are the slightly more difficult ones because now we've got negative indices, we've got powers of fractions, lots of different things going on in here. So first of all, let's look at this first one. We want to, let's get rid of the brackets first. So we have 6 m to the power of 3, n to the power of negative 12. I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly now because that's just powers of powers. You multiply the powers. And that's over m to the power of negative 2n times m to the power of 4. Then this is saying 3 to the power of 2, so not 6. 3 to the power of 2 is not 6. 3 to the power of 2 is 3 times 3, which is 9. N to the power of negative 6. So now we have that. Let's go ahead and now get rid of our negative indices. As we know, with negative indices, what we'll do is switch it to the other side, making it positive. So we have 6 m to the power of 3. Then that m from the bottom is going to go up to the top, so we have m to the power of 2. That n is going to go to the bottom, so we have n to the power of 12, and just that n there, times it by m to the power of 4, n to the power of 6 over 9. Now that we have that, we can maybe do a bit more simplifying before we multiply the two fractions. So we have 6 n to the power of 5, n to the power of 13, times n to the power of 4, n to the power of 6 over 9. Then lastly, let's now multiply these two fractions. So you have 6 m to the power of 9, because 5, m to the power of 5 times m to the power of 4 is m to the power of 9, n to the power of 6 over 9, n to the power of 13. And once we cancel out, that becomes 2, that becomes 3, and we have 6 n's on the top, 13 n's on the bottom. So they all cancel out, and that turns into 7, leaving us with 2 m to the power of 9 over 3 m to the power of 7. And that's our answer for that one. And then lastly, I'll just move some of these over as well. Now this one's a bit tricky. If you can't really tell in the video, that is a division sign going on there. So what we can do straight away, because when we're dividing fractions, we can flip the second fraction and multiply. So I'm going to do that first. I got 4a to the power of negative 3 over b to the power of negative 2, c to the power of 4 times, and I'm going to flip what's inside the second fraction. So we have c squared over 2a to the power of negative 3b. So what you've done is I've just done the reciprocal of the second fraction, because dividing fractions means we can flip the second fraction, and then we also have to the power of 3 as well. That power of 3 stays there. Next is, we'll then say, we can now go ahead, I forgot a power of 2. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and start expanding these with our powers of fractions. And what we're going to do here is essentially inside each of these brackets, we're going to raise each thing to the power of 2 for this first one. So we have that, first of all, so 4 to the power of 2 is 16. Then we'll look at the a to the power of negative 3, which is a to the power of negative 6. Whoops, a to the power of negative 6. Then we have that, which is b to the power of negative 2, so b to the power of negative 4. And then c to the power of 8 times, I'll do the same with the other bracket. So we have c to the power of 2 first of all, times it to the power of 3, so that is c to the power of 6, over 2 to the power of 3, which is 8, not 6, a to the power of negative 9, b to the power of 3. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and flip all our negative powers again. So we have 16 b to the power of 4 over a to the power of 6, c to the power of 8 times c to the power of 6, a to the power of 9 over 8 b3. So lastly, now let's go ahead and join these fractions together. There's 16 b4 c6 a9 over a to the power of 6. Well, we have an 8 from that right side, so 8a to the power of 6, c to the power of 8 b to the power 3. And now we can do a lot of simplifying here in the top and bottom. So we have 16 over 8 becomes 2 over 1. Let's look at the a's first. So we have 6 on the bottom, 9 on the top. So basically that's going to leave me with 3 on the top. I have 4 b's on the top and 3 on the bottom. So I'm going to cross out all of them. That's going to become 1. And then I have 6 c's on the top and 8 on the bottom. So I'm going to be left with 2 on the bottom. So now we have 2. A to the power 3 because there's 3 remaining a's. And then b to the power of 1. I'm just going to write it as b. Over 1. I'm not going to write the 1. All the a's cancel out. All the b's cancel out. So I'm just left with c squared. So there you go. That whole big question just reduced down to that. Now just one thing very quickly. These questions are quite difficult for 5.2 mathematics. And I would not expect them to be in a 5.2 math test. Maybe like one of them right at the end of the test because they are quite difficult. It's technically still 5.2 stuff, but you could kind of consider it to be 5.3. Anyway, hopefully this has been helpful, and leave any feedback you can about this video so I can improve them in the future. Thanks for watching.